president has always had very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic comments when it comes to people who are of Muslim faith or people who are black. We've seen him call African nations as shitholes, and so it's not really surprising. But what is weird to me is just how creepy he's been obsessed with me and the Somali community.
Amid growing tensions, significant backlash, and violent threats, my next guest here is wishing to remain anonymous. We're going to call her Sonia for this interview to help protect her identity. Sonia, thank you so much for being brave and speaking out.
I truly appreciate you, and I'm honored to be here with you.
Along with all the fraud, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been facing increasing scrutiny these past few weeks, with comments recently from President Trump calling for her to be investigated, even demands for her deportation. But as someone who's been an activist for Somaliland, not Somalia, what is your perspective on her personally and politically as well, Sonia?
So these people from Somaliland are highly persecuted. So many of them tend not to speak up. Ilhan Omar is someone that I know isn't telling the American people the truth. She is in the Democratic Party. She talks about democracy. She talks about human rights. But Ilhan Omar disregards 6 to 8 million people that are Muslims, by the way, that are black, by the way, that are found in Somaliland. She called us Somali Iskusheg, meaning those who call themselves Somali. Ilhan Omar has lied to the American people. I don't truly know how to give back to America, but I know that I'm an American patriot, that when we had nothing, this country gave me everything. She scapegoats the people who call out her ineffectiveness, because I haven't seen Ilhan Omar demanding accountability in Minnesota. She's pointing fingers, calling everybody a racist, an Islamophobe. So to me, Ilhan Omar is a fraud, and I'm hoping that justice knocks on her door very soon.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. I know there's a lot to talk about here, but before we get into the details, I do think it's important for people to understand the cultural similarities and differences between what is the Republic of Somaliland and Somalia, and how these are playing out in Minnesota right now. So, Sonia, what can you tell us about that?
So the Republic of Somaliland is a country in East Africa, in the Horn of Africa, by the Gulf of Eden, a very strategic location for most of the world, to be honest, and also very critical for U.S. national security and trade. And to the east of Somaliland, we are bordered by Somalia. So Somaliland is a country. We have a distinct culture. One of the big differences between Somaliland and Somalia is the adherence to the rule of law. The people of Somaliland truly believe in the rule of law. This is something that we have always adhered to. It's in our customary laws. The main goal of Somalia is to erase Somaliland from the map because they want our strategic location.
So, Sonia, over the past few years, as the never-ending trials, it seems, in the Feeding Our Future scandal have been playing out, we've been hearing more and more about what has now become known as Somali fraud in Minnesota. Where do people from Somaliland fit into all of this? Or I guess, do they, is the question.
You can look at the Feeding Our Future scam. I think out of the 78, I think 76 are from Somalia, and I think 2 are Americans. That also shows you that there is a distinctiveness here, and there is a common trust amongst the people of Somaliland. You can see that because Somalilanders believe in the rule of law, they thrive in countries like the United States of America. We have people in from Somaliland who are in America, who have very good, high-paying jobs, very decent jobs, and I think it's because of this adherence to the rule of law and different cultures.
In a way, Sonia, it seems that you weren't even surprised about this fraud in Minnesota.
Absolutely not. We saw it coming because we used to wonder, why are people not talking about this? We were always seeing stories, Somali gangs, Somali murders, Somali theft. We asked ourselves, how is it possible a small group of people. Somalians are not many in the United States, but they were able to get away with so much. I think the people of Somalia are a direct reflection of the Somalian government and its ability to manipulate, its ability to deceive, its ability to act vulnerable, to always blame, scapegoat, and gaslight. For example, if I spoke out about Somalia, this is the names they call me. They call me a Christian lover, Galra. They say that you are secessionist. They say you are separatist. So only the strong can truly withstand the onslaught. The attack is so massive and vast. A Caucasian person in America, if that person is told that, oh, you are anti-Muslim, you are anti-Black, so people are silenced.
The true size and scope of the crimes is being brought to light, finally. $250 million in the feeding our children scandal. The largest pandemic fraud case, by the way, in the country. 14 million robbed by a woman who fraudulently diagnosed Somali children with autism, then billed the taxpayer for the services that were never provided. Over 5 million stolen by individuals falsely claiming to provide housing assistance to those in need. These are just some of the fraud schemes that have been federally charged, and I want to emphasize that because our failed governor tried to claim that he's been prosecuting. He hasn't even investigated. There are even more, by the way, that are under investigation, including 80 autism clinics that are currently under investigation. Career fraud prosecutor and former acting U.S. attorney for Minnesota, Joe Thompson, said the amount of fraud, quote, takes my breath away. Even the New York Times admitted that the fraud in Minnesota is, quote, staggering in its scale and its brazenness. Between the meals, housing, and autism therapy fraud cases, 86 people have been charged. Of those 86, 78 are of Somali descent. Let me be clear, it is not racist to call out criminal behavior. And we're going to not cower to baseless labels while Minnesotans, including law-abiding Somali Americans, get robbed blind. While Tim Walz refuses to take accountability for the fraud he created and enabled, President Trump is committed to justice for the crimes against the taxpayers of Minnesota, and I am too. I want to thank Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent for launching an investigation into this important issue. Minnesotans deserve answers and accountability, and we're not going to rest until they get both. And thank God for President Trump raising this because no one was covering it. We've been sounding the alarm on this fraud for over 3 years. No one in this room and no one back at home was reporting how bad this is. Finally, because of our president raising the issue, people are talking about it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention before I left what our conference chair talked about when we started. My wife Jackie and I are praying for the family of Sarah Bergstrom as they grieve this infuriating and unfathomable loss. We're also praying for Andrew Wolf as he continues to fight for his life. These two guardsmen are heroes who answered the call to keep this city safe. Justice must be executed swiftly for this heinous and targeted act.
Another critical issue here in Minnesota. I'd like to talk about SNAP benefits and how much fraud is being exposed nationally and here in the state of Minnesota, according to Federal Secretary Brooke Rollins, who has requested SNAP enrollment benefits from all 50 states. 29 states have agreed and submitted enrollment information. 21 states, including Minnesota, have refused. The results from states that submitted SNAP enrollment, a lot of fraud and enrollment of illegal immigrants has already been discovered. In Minnesota, a state that refused to submit enrollment information to the federal government, State Representative Pam Aldendorf did some excellent research on SNAP enrollment between 2019 and 2021. The enrollment increased during that time under the Walz administration. It went up a staggering 174%. Let me repeat that. The enrollment increased during the time of the Walz administration from 2019 to 2021. The cost went up a staggering 174%. Minnesota is the highest state in the nation in terms of an increase of SNAP expenditures by over 50% increase compared to other states. No wonder the Walz administration refuses to hand over this information on the SNAP program. When you look at the Walz administration's support of illegal immigration and sanctuary cities, can you easily conclude that a lot of enrollment and use of your tax dollars is for illegal immigrants along with waste, fraud, and abuse? To put this in context, Minnesota's population grew at about 1.8% during 19 to 21. The enrollments in the SNAP program grew at about 20% between those years, and yet the SNAP program cost, your tax dollars, went up by a staggering 174%. Again, that's the highest in the nation by more than 50% increase compared to other states. When you add the known fraud of over $2 billion since 2019, many of my constituents have come to believe that the Walz administration is using Minnesota and federal tax dollars to buy election votes for Democrats and Governor Walz himself. Please get involved and let's right the ship here in Minnesota. Thank you. Please spread this over social media.
That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe, be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.